Chapter 8, Power of Deep Diving. Ideas are like fish. If you want to catch little fish, you can stay in the shallow water. But if you want to catch the big fish, you've got to go deeper. David Lynch. A deep dive into something is a thorough investigation and analysis of it. We take hundreds of decisions and arrive at numerous conclusions based on our experience. We face many challenges in our lives today, and at the same time, we need to make suitable decisions to solve the problem. To arrive at the solution, it's essential to understand the problem first, hence deep dive helps in understanding and finding the solution. You might have heard that phrase, less knowledge is very dangerous. The synonym of less knowledge is superficial knowledge. In the fast-moving world, we are in a hurry, therefore, there is little time to understand the thing, and immediately, we form notions. Deep diving into things can be time-taking and not so easy, but it's undoubtedly a recipe for success. We often ignore this skill because of our overconfidence. In this chapter, I would like to share how things can be understood by going deep into the subject. Let's understand the importance of science and technology for a country like India. 8.1 How lack of innovation essential for developing world. As per the studies, India's GDP contribution to the world was 24% in 1750, which fell to 2% in 1900. Even today, it is approximately 6%. No wonder why, in good old days, India was called the Golden Bird. It goes for China too, whose contribution in 1750 was more than 30% of the world's GDP. At that time, when India and China were prospering, America was busy fighting the Independence War, and Europe was going through a new reckoning due to the French Revolution. Fast forward to the 21st century, the entire story is turned upside down, and now an average American and European is 25 times richer than an average Indian. So, you might be thinking, what went wrong? The answer lies with the fact that India and China missed the bus of the first industrial revolution. Export has been a critical component in the prosperity of any country in the world. You name any developed country today, and by default, all will be export-oriented countries, e.g., Germany, UK, China, Japan, UAE, South Korea, etc. Before the first industrial revolution, India and China dominated the world in terms of exports. In the middle of the 18th century, the source of power was human labor, and almost all industries were dependent on skilled hands. India and China had an abundance of human labor because of the higher population, hence, India and China never looked for alternative power sources, wind, flowing water, etc., while on the other hand, Britain had a shortage of manpower. Hence, they were actively looking for an alternate power source. They say, necessity is the mother of invention, hence, British people learnt the art of harnessing flowing water, wind, and steam for power generation. This gave a big boost to their industrial production, which gave them a massive advantage over other countries. Power looms outdid handlooms, and thus, India and Europeans must get credit for this technological breakthrough, which helped them become exporters of the world. Thus, this marked the beginning of European supremacy. The Second Industrial Revolution was in the second half of the 19th century, when again, Europeans and Americans focused on large-scale production with electric motors, internal combustion engines, and even moving assembly lines. India missed this bus again, and paid heavily for being a laggard in adopting science and technology. Concisely, research and development was then the major differentiating factor between India and Western countries. The Third Industrial Revolution started with the advent of computers in 1959. This changed the way we used to manufacture, communicate, and analyze. Post this, China and India's per capita income became so low that manufacturing in these countries, or outsourcing to these countries, became attractive for developed countries. China seized the opportunity by opening its economy in 1978, which helped them become workshop of the world manufacturing hub. Finally, after one of the worst economic crises in India, the government forced to open its economy in 1991. This economy's opening helped us grow in leaps and bounds, as it infused the much-needed money and technology in the market. Still, by then, China had advanced too much in production, hence, despite the low manpower cost, very little scope was left for India to produce. and export. Luckily, the language English, though cursed by many so-called nationalists, came to our rescue. English gave us an edge in information technology, and soon India became the back office of the world and the hub of IT and ITES services. This contributed from nowhere to 1/3 of India's total exports by the late 90s. Recently, India has grown at 6% per annum, compared to the rest of the world at 2.5%, because of our USP of low manpower cost. However, developed countries are at the cusp of embracing the fourth industrial revolution, which is an imminent threat. Artificial intelligence, machine learning, and mechanized workforce can easily defeat cheaper Indian manpower. Thus, India's biggest USP will be in danger. Already we are witnessing stagnation in the IT sector because of algorithm-based technology being used by importers of IT services. Thus, for us the fourth industrial revolution is essential, and this time, India must not miss this bus. The fourth industrial revolution has already started. It is everywhere and, right now, in your hand as well. As per Professor Schwab, it is characterized by a fusion of technologies, blurring the lines between the physical, digital, and biological spheres. It is marked by emerging technology breakthroughs in several fields including robotics, artificial intelligence, nanotechnology, quantum computing, biotechnology, IoT, 3D printing, and autonomous vehicles. Siri by Apple and Alexa by Amazon are classic examples of machine learning. Now, these devices talk to you, and based on the historical data, they even give suggestions. Autonomous driving is almost a reality now. For a developing country like India, the only option is to join the fourth industrial revolution bandwagon. I hope you might have got a 360-degree view of the problem and solution. Let's talk about something which you noticed, but never bothered to find. The reason behind it. 8.2 Water is essential for life while diamond is not, but why? Is diamond costlier than water? Here, how come something, which is essential for life, cheaper than a non-essential item? The answer is a complicated phrase, the law of diminishing marginal utility. Oh, it went above the head, do not worry, I also struggled initially, let me demystify it. The higher the supply we have of something and the more we use it, the less we value it. We have oceans of water, large rivers, and fewer diamonds, hidden and buried in rock. In simple terms, we do not respect the things that are of inadequate quantity, while we respect the rare things more. Water is available everywhere, while diamond is not readily available. Hence water has less value than diamond, hence it's a game of demand and supply, i.e., if supply is more than demand, value is less. Let me reverse this situation. Imagine a rich person with a diamond ring is lost in a jungle, thirsty for hours, and is about to faint or die because of dehydration, and come across you in jungle. You are carrying 1 liter of water and know from where to fetch the water. This rich person asks for your water, but you put the condition that you will give water only if the rich person gives his diamond ring to you. What do you think the rich man is going to do? Will he think about why he should give his 2 lakh rupees diamond ring for 20 rupees worth of water? Or would he gladly offer his diamond ring and take water? Of course, he will choose water, which is supposed to be much cheaper. Hence, the cost of any product depends on demand and supply. Let me explain this theory slightly differently. A laborer works in scorching summers and gets paid the least, while a CEO working on laptops in an AC cabin is paid the highest. The reason is demand and supply. The job of a laborer is not rare in nature, and many people are ready to do the same, and hence, there's no need to pay too much, while the job of a CEO is very technical in nature, where not many talented people are available, hence, the salary is many times more than a laborer. Now, I hope you understood the concept of demand and supply. Are you among high demand profile or high supply profile? If it's high supply, immediately upskill, otherwise, things would be difficult. 8.3 In your success, is there any role of nature and ancient humans? Today, you are reading this book at your own comfort. I don't think right now you are worried about the attack of any wild animal, or drenched in heavy rain, or collecting wood for cooking food, which primitive humans used to do. It's the innovation that helps us, and today we are in best of shape. Let us go through human evolution in chronological order. According to the Big Bang Theory, our solar system formed 13.8 billion Years ago, Earth came into existence, around 4.5 billion years ago. First form of life, as a unicellular organism, emerged 3 billion years ago. Multicellular organism, sexual reproduction, emerged 1 billion years ago. Dinosaur appeared 240 million years ago. Monkeys appeared 30 million years ago. Apes appeared almost 10 million years ago. Humans appeared, Homo habilis, evolved from ape, almost 2.5 million years ago. Humans learnt the art of producing fire 1.5 million years ago. Homo sapiens appeared, wise human, 0.3 million years ago. Humans started agriculture 12,000 years ago. Humans started using metal, copper, 11,000 years ago. Civilization started 6,000 years ago. Kingdoms started 4,000 years ago. Use of paper started 2,100 years ago. Use of windmills started 1,400 years ago. Humans started using zero in calculation 1,100 years ago. The magnetic compass was invented 900 years ago. Explosive bombs were invented 800 years ago. The printing press was invented 600 years ago. Telescope and microscope. Electricity was produced 220 years ago. The mechanical computer was invented 200 years ago. Plastic was invented 150 years ago. The modern telephone was invented 145 years ago. The light bulb was invented 140 years ago. The modern automobile was invented 134 years ago. Wireless communication with radio waves was invented 125 years ago. Television was invented 93 years ago. The personal computer was invented 63 years ago. The first artificial satellite launched 63 years ago. The first time human traveled to space 59 years ago. The mobile phone came into existence 36 years ago. You appeared on Earth 30 to 40 years ago. The internet appeared 30 years ago. Facebook appeared 16 years ago. Instagram appeared 10 years ago. TikTok appeared 3.5 years ago. 5G telecommunication trials started last year. Coronavirus spread to the world this year. You are reading this book now. Therefore, in your success, there is the role of 3 billion years of evolution. In a nutshell, we are in comfort because of many generations' relentless efforts. The purpose of sharing the chronology is to understand the importance of past work done by many. 8.4 Timeline of automobile invention. In the last 150 years, one of the greatest inventions, which has helped humankind, is the invention of modern automobiles. However, as they say, what you see is the tip of the iceberg, but what is not visible is huge base. Underwater, similarly, in any success, there is a long list of efforts. In the below-mentioned year chronology, you will realize how the modern car was invented. 1335 Dutchman Guido van Vigevano drew sketches of a windwagon, wind-power-driven vehicle, but not much of success was achieved. It had the three key parts of a modern car: an engine, spinning windmill sails, a set of wheels and gear. It was supposed to be wind-power-driven, but not much of success was achieved. 1478 Leonardo da Vinci invented the self-propelled car. However, the car remained a sketch on paper and never actually made. It is not exactly like a car but similar to a cart and had no seat. 1769 Nicolas Joseph Cugnot built the first self-propelled road vehicle. Steam-powered, in France, it was a three-wheeled tractor made for the French army, with a maximum speed of about 2.5 miles per hour. 1789 Oliver Evans, an American, received the first U.S. patent for a steam-powered land vehicle. 1801 Richard Trevithick, a British inventor, built a steam-powered road carriage. It is considered the first tramway locomotive, designed for use on road, not railroad. 1807 François Isaac de Rivaz, a Swiss inventor, built an internal combustion engine, which used a mixture of hydrogen and oxygen. He also designed a car for the engine, the first automobile powered by internal combustion. Unfortunately, it was unsuccessful. 1823 British engineer, Samuel Brown. 1832 Robert Anderson invented the first crude non-rechargeable electric carriage in Scotland. 1863 Belgian engineer, Jean-Joseph Étienne Lenoir, invented the horseless carriage, internal combustion engine, capable of speeding up to 3 miles per hour. This was the first commercially successful internal combustion engine. 1867 German engineer, Nikolaus August Otto, improved on the internal combustion engine. His engine was the first to burn fuel directly in a piston chamber efficiently. 1870 Julius Hawk of Vienna built the first internal combustion engine. Running on petrol, 1877 Nikolaus Otto built the four-cycle internal combustion engine. Similar engine is used today in our cars. August 21, 1879 American inventor, George Baldwin, filed the first U.S. patent for an automobile. This invention was more similar to a wagon, with an internal combustion engine. 1885 German engine designer, Carl Benz, built the first true automobile-powered petrol engine vehicle. It had 3 wheels and looked quite similar to a carriage. Carl Benz patented new technology, hence called father of the modern automobile. 1886 in Michigan, Henry Ford built his first automobile. 1886 Gottlieb Wilhelm Daimler and Wilhelm Maybach invented the first four-wheeled, four-stroke engine in Germany. 1893 brothers Frank and Charles Edgar Duryea invented the first successful, gas-powered car in the United States. 1895 George Baldwin Selden, an American inventor and engineer. In 1896 the Duryea brothers started the first American car manufacturing company in Springfield, Massachusetts. It was called Motor Wagons. 1900 a steering wheel designed to replace the steering tiller. 1906 Alabama sets a state maximum speed limit of 8 miles per hour, i.e., 12.5 km per hour. 1913 Ford Model T production rockets from 7.5 cars per hour to 146 cars per hour, thanks to the assembly line's utilization. 1924 the car radio introduced. 1940 the first four-wheel drive, all-purpose vehicle designed for the U.S. military. It was known as the Jeep. 1956 the Interstate Highway Act creates a highways network, which connects all parts of the United States. 1962 Wisconsin became the first state to create a seatbelt law. 1974 airbags become a new car safety option. 1995 the Car Global Positioning System, or GPS, was introduced. 2001 hands-free Bluetooth was introduced in car. 2003 automatic parking capability was introduced. 2004 LED headlamp was introduced. Hope you would agree with the fact that a lot of work has been done in the field of automobiles, and the features you are enjoying in your car was invented by thousands of unknown inventors. It's a perfect example of continuous improvement. Automobile engine works on the principle of compression, i.e., fossil fuel is injected with pressure and it's compressed by a piston to create high temperature to burn the fuel, i.e., fire. Energy thus expands, which pushes the piston. Therefore, it is the fire in the cylinder. Thus, fire is the root cause of a car's petrol or diesel engine and, subsequently, the car's movement. Let us understand how fire helped human. In a real way. 8.5 How fire helped humankind. An uncontrolled fire can lead to devastation. At the same time, controlled fire can lead to prosperity. The same goes for our every act. Anything in excess is bad. Now let us go back to our topic again. Fire helped early humans protect themselves from dangerous animals. It helped them see in the night and provided warmth in the winter. Later on, fire helped humans to forge steel, and we know how steel has changed our lives. Fire helped us pasteurize milk, helped our mobility in a big way, and the steam engine led to a mass movement. Do you know the car you use, i.e., if it's a diesel or petrol car, then the engine is run by burning the fossil fuel inside the engine cylinder? Not only this, but half of the world's electricity is also produced through burning coal. Thus, fire helped humans excel in every possible way, but the most important contribution of fire is making humans wise. Yes, you read it right. Fire helped humans become wise. Cooking vegetables or meat killed most of the harmful germs, which helped reduce the human mortality rate. This is important because cooked food allowed for healthier, long-lived humans. The most significant part is that cooking made food softer and helped digest it easily. Hence, early humans didn't need to spend hours chewing, tearing, and digesting meat or food. This led to the decrease in muscle strength, shorter intestine, and most importantly, the development of a bigger brain. Almost all the bodily energy, which was earlier being used for muscles development and digesting intestine, was then diverted to the brain. That is why humans have the biggest brains in mammals than any other species. Research shows divert that energy from somewhere else. Therefore, the human brain developed because of the invention of fire. Further humans invented or found more ways to make their life easier, thus better. This further helped to save more energy available for the brain. Eventually, had some other animals discovered fire earlier than humans. Who knows what the world might look like now? Maybe humans might not have survived. If they survived, then they would have been locked away in some zoo for someone's amusement. In India, more than 50% of the population depends on agriculture for their livelihood. Let's understand the challenges and what can be done to help them. 8.6 How is agricultural distress taking the lives of farmers? In India, close to 3 lakh farmers have died by suicide in the last 2 decades. Currently, agriculture contributes roughly 16% of India's GDP, which was 43% in 1970. In the last 10 years, agricultural growth has been approximately 1.5%, while India's GDP has grown over 6%. You will be amazed to know that the government primary school teachers' salary has jumped almost 250 times in the past 45 years, but the price of wheat has gone up only 19 times. As per NSSO, almost 62% farmers earn less than 5,300 rupees per month, i.e., living in acute poverty. For the farmers, poverty is nothing new but a constant part of life, going on for generations. In fact, agriculture distress is a recent phenomenon, as the British had enacted the Deccan Agriculturist Relief Act, 1879. Therefore, the question arises, why is the situation is so bad? The answer, which I found, is the vicious cycle. There is no proper irrigation facility. Only 40% of arable land depends heavily on rain. If monsoon fails for 2 consecutive years, there is no way a poor farmer can pay his debt. The money lender puts pressure and humiliates the farmers. Looking at his deplorable condition and no hope, the farmer decides to kill himself. Farmers get only 20 to 50% of what consumers actually pay, i.e., if you, as a consumer, pay 40 rupees for cauliflower, the farmers get 8 to 12 rupees for it. The rest goes into the pockets of intermediaries. Therefore, this system of intermediaries drastically reduces the earnings of farmers. Price fluctuation, due to bad weather, also hampers earning potential of these farmers. Due to less rain, the produce goes down, which in turn reduces earning potential. The trap of cash crops. To earn more, a lot of farmers have moved from food grain production to cash crop production, i.e., cotton and sugarcane. The good thing is, cash crop cultivation can be 2 or 3 times more profitable than food grain cultivation, but then the risk associated is also high, as the cost of production, i.e., seeds, pesticides, etc., of cash crops is comparatively higher, and if the crop fails due to poor rain or crop disease, the farmer falls into a huge debt trap and eventually dies by suicide. This is why the farmer's suicide rate in Maharashtra and Gujarat is more than Upper Bihar, as more cash crops are produced in these 2 states. Landholding. Due to population increase, the average landholding has reduced to 1.5 hectare in 2016, from 2.8 hectare in 1971. It is a no-brainer that if land holding reduces, then the farmer's income will also go down. Small and medium farmers can't afford costly high-yielding seeds and inorganic fertilizers. Hence, their productivity, produced per unit of land, is low. Bihar has maximum small and medium farmers, and yield or hectare of wheat there is half of that of Punjab's, and yield or hectare of rice is 1/3 of afford their children's basic education. Hence, these kids have to leave schools to help their father or become a laborer in cities. Infrastructure woes. As per various reports, in India, 30% of farm produce goes waste. This happens because of lack of storage facility. This kind of loss directly affects the potential earning of the farmers. With a lack of availability of cold storage facility and unaffordability of transportation, the farmer is compelled to sell the produce at a throwaway price to avoid deterioration of his farm produce. Rich traders store it in another district's storage house and wait for prices to go up so that they can make healthy profit buy from the farm produce. Storage facility near the farmers would have helped them store their produce and wait for the right time to sell. Lack of awareness and lack of advanced methods. Lack of awareness about the right quantity of usage of fertilizer increases the cost of production with increased yield. NPK consumption ratio was 4.3 2 to 1. In 2001, which has become 8.7, 2 to 1 in 2015. This clearly shows that farmers are using more nitrogenous fertilizer, urea, whenever a country faces any natural disaster like flood, drought, hailstorm, cyclone, etc. The farmers are the ones who are worst sufferers as they're standing. Crops get destroyed heavily, which in turn affects their incomes. Our social system also harms our farmers. As per few studies, the debt traps. Biggest reason is their daughter's marriage and a family member's funeral. Expenditure. Both are society-made problems. China produces 600 metric tons of food grain with lesser cropped area, compared to India's 270 metric tons. Wheat productivity in France is 3 times more than India. These examples clearly show that there is a huge scope of improvement in Indian farm productivity, which in market access facilities. 1. Integration of mandis, where farmers sell their produce through the internet, so that farmers can get to know where they should sell to get the maximum price. Replication of Karnataka's Rashtriya e-market services private, like Enam, Pan India will definitely help all the farmers of our country. 2. More cold storage and warehouse facilities near farmers must be made so that they can store their produce and wait for a better return. 3. More accountability from agriculture establishments. 4. More funds should be allocated to agriculture research bodies like the Indian Council of Agriculture Research, ICAR. 5. Krishi Vigyan Kendra, KVK, was established to support farmers in adopting new agriculture techniques, but their groundwork is also inadequate. Currently, there are more than 650 KVKs established in India. Better monitoring and KRA-based performance management of these KVKs will bring more result. 6. Agriculture universities were established in the 50s with the idea of solving local problems, but to the contrary, the quality of research being done by these universities are below par, that these don't yet benefit even the farmers living in their neighborhood. Let these agricultural universities prove how they have made the life of farmers better with their research findings. 7. Research outcome by ICAR, KVK and agriculture universities is low. The government must constitute a body like the CAG to audit these bodies on parameters, like actual research outcome. Strict action must be taken for slackness in research because the affected party is the poor farmer. Awareness drive. 1. Increase in awareness about crop insurance will help farmers to negotiate natural calamity in a better way. As per sources, currently, crop insurance penetration is just 35%, which is very low. 2. Farmers must be encouraged to adopt integrated farming system model, vermicomposting, mushroom cultivation, and tree plantation on the boundary of the fields. These will give them incremental earnings. 3. Soil health card is an excellent project of government to help the farmer to know which nutrient is missing in his field so that he can put only that specific nutrient-fulfilling fertilizer. Currently, farmers put every possible fertilizer, which increases his input cost. Indian government's role. 1. Through legislation, there should be a cap on interest being charged by moneylenders. It can be RBI's prime lending rate plus a maximum 7%. This will help poor farmers to avoid the unnecessary burden of interest. 2. The government must subsidize high-yielding varieties so that marginal farmers can also increase their output and eventually their incomes. 3. Currently, in most of the states, the farmers' lands are distributed at different places. Consolidation of landholding will help farmers to save time, money, and energy. 4. The government must increase spending on increasing irrigation cover for the long-term benefit of the farming community and the country. 5. Remove or reduce intermediaries through directly connecting the end user with the farmer. Here startup can help by making an app enabling direct purchase from the farmer, increasing his income. 6. To curb inflation, it seems to me that the government deliberately wants to keep farm produce prices low. This policy adversely affects the farming community, who are the most vulnerable. 7. The meteorological department can be made proactive about the rain spell forecast so that farmer can plan to sow accordingly. 8. National Farmers Commission had submitted a brilliant report in 2006 on Indian agriculture and gave almost 50 suggestions. As per my back of the envelope calculation, only 50% of those were implemented. 9. The government must implant all suggestions in letter and spirit. one of 50 more than input cost of production, on which the government is not agreeing. 10. Studies have proved that farm mechanization has helped to increase farm productivity. 11. Easy credit availability, at a very low interest rate like 4%, will definitely be of help to farmers. You might be thinking, if nearly half of pollution is into agriculture, then by default, they are the most powerful vote bank, and politicians must be running behind them. Theoretically, there is sound logic behind your thinking, but the reality is very different. Our politicians have divided our farmers into caste, religion, regionalism, etc. so much that they are not united. This absence of unity gives room to politicians to look the other direction. The last thing is that society must understand that rituals were made to help humans achieve prosperity, but dowry and death ritual hurt the lives of the poor. Though on paper it seems like the government is doing a lot of things, in reality, I see a big challenge in execution of those schemes. Hence, execution will be key to success. The Indian state, Punjab, and agriculture are closely associated. Now, let's deep dive into why Punjab is left behind in the economic race. 8.7. What once was India's most prosperous state is now lagging in development. In the mid-80s, Punjab gripped in militancy, violence, and chaos, but still, one positive thing that kept Punjab going was its relative prosperity and robust economic status. Without these, Punjab would have gone into oblivion, from where returning to normalcy would have been tough. If we go by the statistics, then in 1994, Punjab was the #1 state in terms of per capita state GDP. However, after that, we saw a continuous slide. In Punjab, not only a worrying position for the state, but also it has a severe impact on India. Hence, I tried to find out some key reasons. Punjab was synonymous with prosperity, but has lost this coveted tag very fast. Let us see why. There are many reasons why Punjab's economy is in trouble. The Punjab government spends approximately 50% of its total revenue on government employees' salary and pension. This is excessively high. It's the same for Haryana at 37%, Rajasthan at 34%, Gujarat at 36%, and Tamil Nadu at 37%. This means either revenue is low or government machinery is heavy. Due to the model of high expenditure and low revenue generation, almost 20% of its tax revenue goes towards payment of interest on borrowed money, i.e., 1/5 of the revenue goes away. Punjab's outstanding debt is 32% of GDP, while India's is 21%. For almost the last 10 years, the government has been giving free electricity to farmers. This is a burden on the debt-ridden government. Approximately 8 to 10% of total revenue goes towards free electricity subsidy. Hence, if we add salary, pension, interest, and electricity subsidy, the total comes to 80% of state revenue. Therefore, Punjab government gets only remaining 20% to spend on infrastructure, industrialization, and job creation. Punjab was a traditionally agrarian economy. Now, Indian agriculture, in general, is in trouble. Hence, Punjab is worst affected. Agriculture used to contribute 40% of Indian GDP in the mid-70s, which is down to 16% currently. This figure is enough to tell the declining status of agriculture. Use of fertilizer and pesticide by Punjab farmers is 7 to 10 times more than the national average. In Punjab, daily wages are also high. Hence, the cost of country, the MSP, is not increasing with the ratio of inflation or input cost, leading to an unviable business proposition. It's shameful that Punjab farmers are dying by suicide. Tractor density is highest in Punjab. Various researches show that owning a tractor for a small and marginal farmer is not viable. In Punjab, tractor became a status symbol for farmers, i.e., bigger tractor means bigger farmer. This led to the unnecessary purchase of higher horsepower tractor, i.e., costly one, which further worsened the debt-ridden farmers. Ludhiana was a hub of SME, cycle manufacturing, sports good manufacturing, hand tool manufacturing, hosiery, etc. About 20 years back, Ludhiana was known as City of Merc because of wealth, but once the central government started giving tax exemptions to nearby hilly states like Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, and Jammu and Kashmir, a lot of SMEs shifted to these states to save tax. Badi is a small town in Himachal Pradesh on the border of Punjab. Badi is just 50 kilometers from Chandigarh and 150 kilometers from Ludhiana. Hence, it became a hot place for shifting base and getting excise in. Other tax exemption for 10 years. This affected Ludhiana majorly. Cycle manufacturing is still a big industry in Ludhiana, but now Chinese cycles, as well as parts, are so cheap that most of the Indian cycle manufacturers have started purchasing cycle parts from China so that they can keep themselves afloat. Due to this small local cycle component, manufacturers had to close the business. Jalandhar was a hub of sports good manufacturers. FIFA World Cup, 1992, was played with mostly Jalandhar manufactured football. After this, China started manufacturing sports goods in a big way. The mass production and new technology gave the edge to the Chinese manufacturers. Due to this, Jalandhar produced sports goods became 30% costlier than Chinese made. Hence, slowly and steadily, most of the industries in Punjab is labor intensive. Due to the higher cost of living in Punjab, the labor wages have also gone up. Land prices also, more than other parts of India. Punjab gives commercial electricity at 7 to 8 rupees per unit, while other states offered cheap land and electricity, 5 rupees per unit. Labor rates are also relatively cheaper in other states. This led to a lower cost of operation in other states like MP, Gujarat, and Maharashtra, etc. Most big cotton industry players of Punjab have expanded in their business in these states. The technology that SMEs of Punjab were using for production were outdated. Unfortunately, they didn't invest in research and development. Their apathy towards new technology and upgrading operation has cost them and Punjab dearly. NRI remittance to Punjab was a major economy booster before the sub-prime crisis in the US. Once the economy of the US, Canada, and the UK went down, the remittance also went down. Real estate was a major sector, which was contributing to the economy. Property prices were doubling in 3 to 4 years, hence, people invested heavily. A lot of businessmen, who had taken a loan against their manufacturing business, diverted the bank loans to purchase property, but once property prices declined or got stagnant, the entire cycle got stuck. Drug consumption in the youth of Punjab has affected the economy in a big way. One of leading news daily says, in the northern Indian state of Punjab, more than half of people aged 18 to 35 are using drugs, and at least one person is addicted, in 2/3 of rural households. State governments are not considered as pro-industrialist. They want votes from farmers, hence, they don't want to be seen as industry sympathizers. 1 study shows that 90% of Punjab's state assembly debate moves around farmers. One of the major reasons for India's exponential growth in the last 2 decades is FDI post-liberalization, but Punjab hardly got any. For better living standard, Punjab youth are more inclined to migrate to Canada, US, Australia, and Europe. After migration, people work as drivers, fuel station assistants, run general stores, etc. For this, higher education is not much required. This phenomenon leads to a lower focus on higher education by rural youth of Punjab. The next generation of businessmen is keen to settle abroad, hence, this demotivates businessmen to expand their business further. Debt-ridden Punjab government wants to increase revenue, hence, conduct a lot of raids on businessmen. Imagine the plight of businessmen, that on one hand, his business is not doing well, and on another hand he is being harassed by the tax department. Honest businessmen admit that corruption is so much that to avoid unnecessary hassle, they need to manage corrupt officers. This is also one of the reasons why many businessmen of Punjab are registering new firms in Delhi or Mumbai. They say it's good to be a small fish in a big pond, rather than a big fish in a small pond. Despite all the negatives, I am very sure that Punjab will bounce back in the next 3 to 4 years now that people are realizing their mistakes. Unions, as well as the state governments, are also trying to revive industrial production. Therefore, I am optimistic about the revival of the Punjab economy. It might take time, but it is inevitable. I hope you understood the role of the economy in our lives. India's per capita income is 30 times lesser, yes, you read it right, 30 times lesser than developed countries. Let's explore what India should do to join the elite club of developed countries. 8.8 What should India do to become a developed country? In this globalized world, India can't stay unaffected by these technological disruptions. First and second industrial revolutions were mechanical, while third and fourth are digital in nature. India has an added advantage in digital technology. Hence, it is an excellent opportunity for us to embrace the change finally. If we can channelize our energies towards the fourth industrial revolution, we can again become the golden bird. The single most crucial component in capturing the fourth industrial revolution is innovation, and to innovate, India must focus on research and development. As per Economic Survey of India 2017-18, India's spending on R&D is just 0.6% of its GDP versus that of Israel at 4.3%, South Korea at 4.2%, the US at 2.8%, and China at 2.1%. China's absolute R&D spending is 20 times more than India. Universities play a very important role in R&D, but shockingly not even one Indian university is in top 300 universities of the world. At the same time, the private sector also plays a very important role in innovation. According to Forbes reports, there are only 26 Indian companies in the list of the top 2,500 global R&D spenders, compared to 301 Chinese companies. This means the infrastructure for innovation is lacking in India at the grassroots level. Currently, a bulk of R&D expenditure goes from central government, followed by some private companies. State governments are least bothered about spending money on R&D. These examples tell us what is our status of R&D in India. Few of the baby steps taken by the central government will help us make inroads into the fourth industrial revolution, like a tall innovation mission. AIM. The government is committed to establishing tinkering labs with robots, 3D printing, sensor technology, IoT, etc. in more 8,000 schools. Digital India, Startup India, Make in India, Stand Up India, and Ease of Doing Business are also welcome initiatives by the government. Niti Aayog is expected to release national policy on artificial intelligence, which will probably hold the Kant are doing their best to develop the ecosystem of innovation. Few state governments are also taking steps to establish incubation centers like Telangana government's T-Hub and Andhra Pradesh government's Visage FinTech Hub. Telangana has announced 2020 as Year of Artificial Intelligence. We must realize that we are miles behind developed countries in R&D, hence, these baby steps won't suffice in our endeavor. We need to relook at our education policy because currently it's based on a traditional way of gaining knowledge rather than experiential learning. Currently, the government is taking these steps, considering the fourth industrial revolution as one of the many planned projects, while they must make this as the most important project of the country. Luckily, India's young generation is not ready to compromise and is ready to take on the world's mightiest. There are several Indian startups like Arya.ai, Artifacia, Nebula, and Angel System working in the field of machine learning. Almost 400 years back, Francis Bacon had said, "Knowledge is power," and now it is evident that countries with the latest technological know-how are the most powerful and prosperous countries. 8.9 How populist measures by politicians can be detrimental. To explain this, let me tell you a story. Ramnagar and Laxmingar are neighboring villages in the district Pratapgarh, Uttar Pradesh. Both the villages' population and size were almost the same in the year 1930. Both villages were almost cut off from any development. Kucha house, no road, no school, no hospital, and no police station, so literally no development. Both villages were almost dependent on agriculture. Whatever little extra crop production they were producing, they used to sell in Pratapgarh city, and with the money in hand, they used to buy items of daily use like cloth, medicines, utensils, etc. Irrigation is the most important component of agriculture. Healthy crops, i.e., more produce, which in turn was giving more money in hand. However, the problem was, due to terrain, it was not possible to retain rainwater. Therefore, the risk and dependency on rain were very high. Sarpanch of Ramnagar thought of building a check dam in his village so that rainwater can be stored in artificial reservoirs with the help of the check dam. Villagers got excited with the idea, and they were willing to contribute manual labor to this noble cause. However, manual labor alone was not enough to build a check dam. It required brick, cement, sand, and steel bars to construct a check dam. To buy all these things, Sarpanch proposed tax on villagers. Villagers had never heard the concept of tax. Some of the villagers opposed the move with logic that their ancestors have managed to live so long in the same village without it. Then, why this unnecessary check dam construction was to be paid through tax? Ramnagar's Sarpanch convinced villagers that the check dam will help in irrigation even when there is less rain, and thus, better agriculture produce was guaranteed, leading to prosperity. After a lot of struggle, the total tax collected, as per land size, was 40,000 rupees. That point of time it was huge money for the check dam construction. When neighboring Laxmingar villagers heard about the construction of a check dam, they laughed at Ramnagar residents that their Sarpanch was making a fool out of them. Soon the check dam was ready. Next year, there was good rain, hence, no benefit of the check dam was visible in Ramnagar as there was abundant water. Ramnagar people started blaming Sarpanch for wasting tax money. Next year there was a huge shortage of rain. In Laxmingar, where there was no dam, they were blaming nature and helplessly saw the damage of crop. While there was abundant water stored in Ramnagar, courtesy to check dam, Ramnagar had a very good crop. They sold the excess produce to the city and earned handsome money. With better earning, farmers bought high-yield seed and fertilizer. These steps, clubbed with assured irrigation, had given bumper crop. Thus, extra production had given extra money in the hand of Ramnagar villagers. Next year too, they bought good clothes, ornament. Villagers were happy with Sarpanch and decided to follow whatever he says. Sarpanch decided that tax imposed and collected tax would be used for common services, based on the amount of crop sales in the city. Total tax collection was 10,000 rupees in that year. He used this amount in constructing Kucha Road, a small clinic, and a school. He paid teachers and doctors to come to his village and work. Soon village kids started learning. There was no need to take patients to the city and spend money on transportation, because the medical facility was available in the village, which made villagers happy. Ramnagar became the model village and an example of prosperity. Nearby, village dwellers used to come and admire the development, while Laxmingar was in the same old shape: no roads, poor people, no school, no clinic, torn clothes. Finally, Laxmingar residents realized that because of the check dam, Ramnagar people had become prosperous, hence, they agreed to follow the footsteps of Ramnagar. They also constructed the check dam and attained almost similar prosperity. After a few years, there was an election for Sarpanch in Ramnagar, which attained prosperity first. A lot of candidates filed nomination. Existing Sarpanch put agenda of good road, better facility in clinic and school. Another candidate, Ramadar, lured voters with the promise of freebies like pension for old people, marriage assistance money, and free bicycle for girls. Ramadar also promised that there won't be any tax collection from small farmers, i.e., almost 40% of villagers. People of Ramnagar were excited with the poll promise and voted in favor of Ramadar. Because of tax exemption given to small farmers, the tax collection that year was only 16,000 rupees against the previous year's 20,000 rupees. The new Sarpanch spent almost 12,000 rupees on freebies, which he had promised. Villagers were very happy to see new Sarpanch as a man of words and a true messiah of the poor. Because of freebies and exemption, only 4,000 rupees was left for development work. This amount was not enough to pay doctors and teachers salaries, buying new medical equipment, medicine, repair of the clinic, school, building and roads. Therefore, Ramadar decided to increase the tax on the gap between rich and poor. This annoyed some of the big farmers, who decided to settle in the city and opted for grain trading, rather than agriculture. Because of this, some of the rich farmers left the village. The next year, tax collection had further gone down to 12,000 rupees. For freebies, the Sarpanch needed the entire amount and he had no money left for salary and repair work. Soon, teachers and doctors left the village. The villagers were clueless about what was happening. Next year, again, there were elections. This time people were determined to remove Ramadar and elect the earlier Sarpanch. Ramadar tactfully created caste tensions among villagers. As he was from the caste of the majority of the population, he again won the elections. Some of the rich farmers who had stayed back bribed Ramadar to manipulate their earning records so that they have to pay less tax, which Ramadar did by taking the bribe. No wonder, the next year's tax collection was just 9,000 rupees. With time, the condition of village amenities had further gone down. Ramadar stopped even pension for old citizens. While on the other side, in Laxmingar, people had elected Suresh despite other candidates offering huge freebies. Suresh realized that post-crop harvest, there is always a risk of untimely rain and thus, crops can get damaged. Hence, he constructed a large shed where villagers can keep their produce safely with the help of the collected tax. He constructed a small guest house, too, so that merchants from the city could come and stay in the village and buy stuff in bulk. He paid agriculture experts to come to his village and educate people on methods to increase farm productivity. All these steps helped produce more and sell at a better price. Thus, the next year's tax collection had reached 25,000 rupees. Next year, he had given loans to small farmers so that they could buy high-quality seeds and fertilizers and produce better crops. This idea worked and, within 2 years, poor farmers were in much better condition and returned the loan. Suresh used the tax amount to build Paka Road, enhancing facilities in the clinic and the school. All these helped in the prosperity of villagers, and soon the tax collection had gone up to 35,000 rupees. More tax collection allowed Suresh to spend money for welfare, i.e., if somebody is in need for costly medical treatment or a poor person wants to get his daughter married. In such cases, with a common census, money was given to needy people. The village was prospering. The villagers made nice houses, they were wearing good clothes. Their children were getting decent jobs in the city because of education, and people were healthy. After hearing the progress of Laxmingar, villagers from Ramnagar visited Laxmingar and were wondering why this laggard village, that too just 2 kilometers from their village, became so prosperous. Finally, Ramnagar village, people realized the importance of tax collection, its right usage, and electing an honest candidate. Though it was a long story, I hope you got the essence of it. You might have come across the phrase, courage is man's surest weapon in danger. Do you want to know how courage plays a role in sports? Let's understand it from the example of cricket. 8.10 Why is courage important? In cricket, a spinner does flighted delivery. This means he throws with a loop, so that ball spends more time in the air, and after landing on pitch, the ball turns more. With the help of the turn, he beats the batsman and takes a wicket. But the irony here is that the batsman gets more time to read the ball and can play lofted shot for 6. Therefore, the dilemma with bowler is, if he wants a wicket, he has to be mentally adapted to be costly. The second option with a spinner is to deliver faster, hence, no loop and less turn. This will not allow the batsman to hit a 6, but then chances of taking a wicket would be less. In a test match, spinners bowl flighted balls, as taking a wicket is important. But in T20, spinners bowl a straight ball to avoid. The real problem comes in ODIs, as both, i.e. taking a wicket and saving runs, are equally important. In ODIs, spinners first bowl flighted balls, and if the batsman is in an aggressive mode, he hits few boundaries. Those spinners, who do not want to be costly, start bowling straight ball, hence, they do not take any wicket. The courageous spinners take a risk and keep bowling flighted balls, and get rewarded by taking a wicket. Thus, courage helps people who take risks. 8.11 How just looking at the trend forecast can go wrong. Courtesy to first and second industrial revolution, Western world had become wealthy in the 50s. Better lifestyle had led to more demand for shoes, clothes, toys, etc. Producing these items in Western countries was costly, as the salary of workers was high. Therefore, the solution was to produce household goods in countries where manpower labor was cheap. Japan was reeling under poverty, and labor rate was cheaper. Hence, Japan grabbed the opportunity and started the production of household items in bulk. This led to relative prosperity in Japan, but because of that, daily wages had gone up. Hence, industrialists started, again, looking for cheap labor countries. South Korea got the manufacturing job. Again, because of higher economic activities, they developed, and thus, daily wages went up. Again, product manufacturers started looking for cheap labor countries. This time China grabbed the opportunity. Because of this, China became the production hub of the world. Owing to mass production, China also got prosperous, pushing daily wages to go up. Now, industrialists choose Thailand, Vietnam, Philippines, and Bangladesh. It's certain that sooner or later, daily wages in these countries would go up. Once the salary goes up, it puts pressure to shift to lower wage countries. Which country, do you think, will seize the opportunity? Looking at the trend, your answer would be sub-Saharan countries. If this is the answer, then you are wrong. Robotics and artificial intelligence will reduce the production cost in the developed world, and it would start manufacturing. Why production would shift further to low-wage countries? Therefore, never, ever, should one conclude without looking at all the parameters. 8.12 Don't reach a conclusion in haste. Until recently, women were not allowed to work at night. This was because of law made by the British during their rule in India. Therefore, anybody after listening about such an act in the 21st century would think that the British were against women's rights and were doing grave injustice to womenfolk. The good news is that recently this law has been amended so that women can work in the night also. Today we have electricity, i.e., street light, CCTV camera, police, mobile phone, public transport, cars, as well as enough population, so any woman going from workplace to her house can feel safe. But 100 years back, it was no such scenario. 100 years back, women workers traveling from workplace to residence in the night were vulnerable to antisocial elements. Thus, the solution was ending daily work hours of women before sunset to safely go to her residence. Therefore, if the context is not known, chances are high that wrong interpretation can be done. Sometimes if we see things with a different perspective, we could have an entirely new learning. Let me share a beautiful analogy. 8.13 How is brake helpful in driving? If I ask you how a brake is helpful in driving, your obvious answer will be brake helps us to stop or slow down the car. There is nothing wrong with your answer, but it's not an entirely correct answer. The biggest help of a brake is to allow you to drive the car at a high speed. I guess you might have gotten confused. Okay, let me ask another question. Assume your car does not have brakes. Now can you drive the car fast? No, because then you would have an accident. At various stages in life, we find our parents, teachers, mentors, well-wishers, and friends questioning our plan, direction, decision, and strategy. We often get irritated and consider such questions as breaks to our plan. However, just remember, it's because of such questions, breaks, that we have managed to reach where we are today. Without them, we could have skid or met with an unfortunate accident. We should be deeply and sincerely grateful to all our priceless breaks. Appreciate the breaks in your life. Without them, we would not be where we are today. Therefore, what you see and feel has a much deeper meaning. If you know the meaning, you will respect and value it more. 8.14 Don't believe in just data. During World War II, the Germans were shooting down the British fighter planes. British engineers thought to put extra armor cladding on some parts of the plane so that even if an enemy's bullet hits the plane would survive and return to the base safely. Why did they only focus on some parts? Because if they had chosen to put armor clad on the entire body, the weight would have increased considerably, hence affecting the fighter plane's capabilities. Therefore, researchers at the Center for Naval Analysis were given task to find out the parts of the plane where armor cladding was required the most. Whenever the fighter plane used to come back from the enemy's area, the researchers noted every bullet hole and its damages on the plane. The solution to their problem was simple. It was to put the armor on the plane's wings and tail. Why? Because the data clearly showed that these were the parts where the maximum number of bullets had hit. However, there was a mistake. The analysis was wrong. The researchers had only looked at fighter planes that had returned to base. Missing from the data were the planes which never came to back, i.e., shot down in the enemy's area. This means the data showed the parts of the planes with least damages hit by a bullet, and hence, the plane fell down. Therefore, armored cladding was supposed to be on the cockpit and engine instead. We make similar mistakes in our life also. We take feedback only from those who like us, and hence, chances are very high that they might not see anything wrong with you. While, if you talk to someone who knows you but is not very close to you, their feedback might help you more. My close friend started a business of a retail store just outside the city's limit. His business outlook was based on customers who used to visit, more prospective customers who were not visiting his shop. Hence, he never knew why such customers were not coming. He was desperate to grow his business. Hence, he asked his existing customers for suggestions to improve. The suggestions he received were to add more varieties and advertise in the city about the shop so that more people are aware of it. My friend immediately acted and added more items and put a hoarding in the city. He was very confident because he had surveyed his existing customers and acted accordingly, but unfortunately, not much of a success was received. He was frustrated. One day, he narrated the entire episode to me and asked for support. I asked him where his employees come to work from, i.e., where they resided. He informed me that most of the employees lived in the city and they commute to work in their own vehicle. I told him to give each employee the responsibility check with their neighbors as to why they were not shopping from his store. He asked his employees to do the same, and after a week, he compiled the response. The reason why his employees' neighbors were not coming to shop was because of the lack of parking facilities and high cost perception. Therefore, this was the main reason. The customers who used to come to his shop were using public transport, hence, never complained. My friend worked on providing valet parking and announced sales through the hoardings which he had taken. Soon customer footfall increased. Therefore, the survey should include the planes which are coming to you, as well as which are not coming to you. Otherwise, the analysis would be wrong. In this chapter, you have gone through more than a dozen stories in chronologies, each detailed and proving that if deep diving is done in any subject, more meaning can be drawn. This skill helps in a strategic role, which is important in top management. Thus, if you want to be in, next chapter is about prediction skill, i.e., the ability to foresee the future.